Would you believe me if I told you that Jeremy Sochan is putting up better numbers as a pick-and-roll initiator than stars like Tyrese Maxey, Luka Dončić, Jason Tatum, Trae Young, and even Nikola Jokić? Now, what if I told you he's also outperforming as the screener, or in other words, the roll man than names like Embiid, Bam, Şengün, and even his own teammate, Victor Wembanyama? Believe it or not, that's exactly what's happening. Now sure, Sochan isn't some polished ISO scorer, he's not a deep threat from three, and no one's confusing him for an offensive juggernaut, but that doesn't mean he's ineffective. In fact, we've seen this story before. Draymond Green has built a Hall of Fame career being incredibly impactful on offense without being a go-to scorer or lights-out shooter. Think about it. Draymond has shot below 34% from three in 11 of his 13 NBA seasons, yet he's been the offensive glue for a dynasty. And when you compare their production at the same stage, on a per 36-minute basis, Sochan, now 3 seasons into his career, is matching or even exceeding Draymond's third-year offensive output in multiple categories. And here's the kicker. This season, Sochan is generating 1.0 points per possession as the ball handler in pick and rolls. That's a number Draymond has hit in just one season, the 2018-19 campaign, and that was right after he'd made 3 straight All-Star teams. Every other season of his career, he came in below that mark. The reason I bring up Draymond Green in this conversation is because Sochan has the real potential to carve out a similar role for the Spurs as Draymond did over his 13-season run with the Warriors. A career that earned Draymond multiple All-Star nods, All-Defensive Team selections, and All-NBA honors. Now, Sochan may not match that exact resume by the time his career is said and done, but the blueprint is there. Like Draymond, Sochan has the tools to be a foundational piece on a winning team for years to come. Take his role as a pick-and-roll initiator, for example. This season, no player on the Spurs had a higher field goal percentage coming off picks than Sochan. And a big reason for that is actually tied to a perceived weakness. Sochan isn't a knockdown shooter from deep. He hit just 30.8% from three this season, so defenders often go under screens when he's running the action. That might seem like smart defense on paper, but in reality, it often works in Sochan's favor. It creates enough separation for him to build momentum, beat his man off the dribble, and drive downhill to the rim. And it's not just about scoring on those drives. What really elevates Sochan's game and what gives shades of Draymond is his ability to create for others once he gets into the paint. Among all players who logged at least 100 drives this season, Sochan ranks in the top 20% league-wide in assist percentage on drives, dishing out assists on 12.6% of those possessions. To put that into perspective, even Draymond, known for his elite playmaking, only surpassed that number in one of his 4 All-Star seasons, which came in the 2021-22 season. That kind of playmaking, especially off the drive or in short roll actions, is Draymond's bread and butter, whether it's faking a handoff to Curry, collapsing the defense, and kicking it out to a teammate for an open look. And for Sochan, he's starting to show flashes of that same high IQ orchestration. However, if there is one area where Sochan still has room to grow, is his finishing on drives to the rim. He converted just 45.1% of those opportunities, a figure that's on the lower end and leaves plenty of room for improvement. But let's not forget, this is only his 3rd season in the league. There's time, and plenty of it, for him to tighten that aspect of his game. Put it into perspective, even Draymond during his early years, and even in his All-Star campaigns, wasn't finishing at a higher rate on drives than Sochan is right now. So while it's a weakness, it's not unusual for a player still developing in their role. But where Sochan really shines is in the pick and roll, not just as a ball handler, but especially as a screener and roll man. Think about it. On most scouting reports, he's labeled a non-shooter from deep, not a threat in pick and pop scenarios. And yet, despite that, he's emerged as one of the most efficient roll men in the league. Sochan generated a stellar 1.21 points per possession as the roll man, ranking him in the 73rd percentile league-wide. That's better than Gobert, Embiid, Şengün, and even his own teammate Victor Wembanyama. That's elite company, and it shows that even without spacing the floor, Sochan's basketball IQ and timing make him a serious threat in the two-man game. But becoming a reliable pick-and-roll threat is something Sochan has been steadily developing over his 3 seasons in the league. Early on, he struggled, consistently ranking below league average, whether as the ball handler or the roll man. But year by year, he's shown real growth, and this season, he's taken a significant leap forward. Now, if Sochan can take the next step by improving his three-point shot this offseason, he could become a true dual threat in the pick and roll. Not just diving to the rim, but popping out beyond the arc and knocking down shots with confidence. That evolution could mirror what we saw from Draymond in his fourth season, the year he first became an all-star. Draymond entered that year coming off a modest 33.7% from deep, then jumped to an impressive 38.8%. That leap added a whole new dimension to Golden State's offense. As for Sochan, he just wrapped up his third season shooting 30.8% from three. What's even more telling? Nearly 98% of his attempts were either open or wide open, meaning the nearest defender was at least 4 feet away, and he still connected on just 30.3% of those looks. If he can push that number to 35% or better next season, it won't just expand his offensive toolkit, it'll open up the entire floor for the Spurs. With defenders no longer able to sag off him, San Antonio's pick-and-roll game could become far more dynamic and much harder to defend. But where Sochan truly makes his mark and earns his paycheck is on the defensive end. This is where he separates himself and why he's already one of the best and most complete defenders in the entire league. Night in and night out, Sochan has taken on the toughest assignments, guarding the opposing team's top scorers. And he has been flat-out elite at that. Few players in the league were better at actually slowing down those stars. I covered this in depth in my earlier defensive breakdown of Sochan, which you can check out after this video by clicking the link in the top right corner. But let me quickly sum it up for you. Like I said, no player in the entire NBA this past regular season defended more shot attempts against Anthony Edwards, Luka Dončić, Zion Williamson, and Zach LaVine, while holding them to a lower shooting percentage than Sochan. And it doesn't stop there. When matched up against Luka, SGA, Brunson, Randall, Şengün, Lillard, and Haliburton, every single one of them shot 35% or worse from the field. Even more jaw-dropping, SGA, Şengün, Lillard, and Haliburton were held to 25% or worse. And yet, Sochan didn't receive a single vote for Defensive Player of the Year. Let that sink in. At 6'8", 230 pounds, with a 7-foot wingspan, Sochan is the blueprint for a modern lockdown wing. He's quick enough to stay in front of guards, strong enough to battle forwards, and even hold his own in the post against centers. Night after night, he's been matching up with elite scorers and making their lives miserable. And yet somehow, his name rarely comes up in conversations about the league's top defenders. That's exactly why I made a full video breaking down his defensive game, which you'll see pop up on your screen at the end of this video. Be sure to check it out if you want a deeper look at what makes Sochan so special on that end of the floor. As always, thanks for watching. I appreciate all your support, and I can't wait to break down more film with you next time.
Jeremy with time, will count if it goes.